Last year, the Indiana Pacers walked into Madison Square Garden and didn't just win Game 7, they ended the Knicks season with an exclamation point. 67% from the field, on the road, in the Garden. It was clinical, jarring, and absolute. Jalen Brunson fractured his hand. OG Anunoby limped off 5 minutes into the game. Josh Hart could barely raise his arm above his head. And yet, even with half the roster compromised, it felt like more than just injuries. It felt like a team that ran out of answers. The Knicks were outplayed, outpaced, out-executed, and out-coached. Now they're back, healthy and better, with Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges joining the core. They've already taken down the defending champions. But the Pacers have already knocked out the regular season's top team. Both teams have grown and evolved. So what's the difference now? And how does this rematch change the trajectory of the Eastern Conference? Let's start where things left off. In last year's series, Indiana exposed New York's rigidity. With quick passes, off-ball screens, and purposeful movement, Indiana created a pace that made New York chase every action. Not just in transition, but in the half court, where possessions stretched the Knicks' defense laterally over and over again. Reflective of their flowing offensive approach, Indiana led the 2024 playoffs in assist percentage and passes per game. Their half-court sets weren't complicated, but they were layered. Screen, cut, relocate, swing. New York's defense, which was built to contain star scorers and wall off the paint, really struggled to keep up with a team that never stopped moving. But New York wasn't simply outclassed. Despite missing Julius Randle for the entire playoffs, they jumped out to a 2-0 lead, defended Madison Square Garden, and beat Indiana by 30 in Game 5. Josh Hart was relentless on the boards. Dante DiVincenzo hit timely threes. Jalen Brunson carried the offense, logging 5 straight 40-point games in the playoffs before breaking his hand in Game 7. Even with OG Anunoby injured, even with bodies dropping, the Knicks remained physical, disciplined, and competitive. It was the kind of performance that revealed the Knicks' floor and their ceiling. They defended well in stretches, crashed the glass, and fought through adversity, but they never fully controlled the series. That version of the Knicks couldn't keep up, but this version might. From 1993 to 2000, the Knicks and Pacers met in the playoffs 6 times in 8 seasons. Almost every one of those series delivered a defining moment, not just for the teams, but for the league. In 1994, Reggie Miller erupted for 25 points in the fourth quarter of Game 5 at Madison Square Garden. He hit pull-up threes, he barked at Spike Lee, and for the first time, the Pacers seized control of the rivalry. A year later, he did it again. Game 1, 8 points in 9 seconds. A game that seemed mathematically over, yet somehow wasn't. And by the time it was, New York had unraveled. Indiana took the series in 7. Then came 1999, Larry Johnson's 4-point play. Knicks fans remember it like a glitch in basketball physics. Banked in, fouled, Garden on its feet. New York would go on to become the first 8 seed to reach the NBA Finals. In 2000, Indiana answered. They won the series in 6 games, ended the Ewing era, reached the finals for the first time in franchise history. For the Pacers, it was validation. For the Knicks, it was transition. And then 2013, a new generation. Carmelo Anthony, Paul George, Game 6. Roy Hibbert rotates over and meets Melo at the rim. Blocked. The Pacers move on. The Knicks don't return to the second round for another decade. So when these teams met again in 2024, it wasn't just a matchup, it was a continuation. 7 games, physicality, pace, and depth. 2 rosters fighting through injuries, and by the end, Indiana had moved on again, while New York was left looking for answers. Because these teams have always tested each other. Physicality, execution, composure. The faces change, but the tension doesn't. And now, in 2025, the rivalry returns. Not as a callback, but as a present tense collision, with both franchises at a crossroads, and the margin between legacy and regret as thin as ever. Indiana wants movement. Early offense, flowing sets, and fast decisions. They don't just play quickly in transition, they're quick in the half court. They hunt early edges. They lead the postseason in assist percentage at nearly 69% and passes per game at 333. They use motion not to mask talent gaps, but to highlight them. The Knicks are the inverse: slow pace, late clock execution, and the lowest assist percentage in the playoffs. Possessions are slow and deliberate. When they run pick and roll, it's usually Brunson who finishes the play. When Indiana runs pick and roll, they often find the roller or swing it to the weak side. But this isn't just about tempo, it's about how each team wants to win. Indiana pressures early. According to Caitlin Cooper, they logged 21 possessions with at least 3 backcourt defenders in Game 4 of the Cleveland series. That's more than any other team during the entire postseason. They want to delay opponents' entry into offense, not to create chaos, but to reduce time. If you start your set at 12 seconds, you're already down to plan B before it begins. New York is more prepared for that this year. They're healthier, they're deeper, and they're more versatile. Tom Thibodeau, long known for his rigidity, has embraced more defensive switching than ever before. With Mitchell Robinson back and Mikal Bridges joining Hart and Anunoby, the Knicks now have the personnel and the tactical flexibility to flatten Indiana's offense by turning it into one-on-one basketball. And that may be the Pacers' greatest test, because they're not built for stagnation. Still, the edge in offensive rhythm belongs to Indiana. The question is whether New York's defense can disrupt it, and whether the Knicks can generate enough offense of their own. Start with Brunson versus Haliburton. It isn't just the battle of point guards, it's a philosophical divide. Brunson is the league's most prolific isolation scorer. He thrives in small spaces with footwork, angles, and pace control. Haliburton is the engine of a team system built on motion and distribution. His gifts are timing, vision, and unpredictability. The Pacers will likely rotate defenders, Nesmith, Nembhard, and even Siakam in stretches, at Brunson, hoping to disrupt his rhythm. But that's easier said than done. Jalen Brunson has become one of the league's most unguardable half-court scorers, especially late in games. If the Pacers send help, he can manipulate it. If they switch, he'll isolate and manufacture points for his team. The question for Indiana is whether they can wear him down, and not just physically, but organizationally. Can they pressure his outlets, take away his counters, and force others to create? This is where New York's additions come into focus. Karl-Anthony Towns may be the biggest wild card in this series. At his best, he opens up the floor in ways that no other big in the league can. He can force Miles Turner to defend in space, create closeouts, and bend the defense towards the perimeter. At his worst, he fades out of games, becomes a floor spacer who inexplicably wanders inside the three-point line. And on the other end, he struggles to defend against Indiana's movement. New York's late-game offense becomes even harder to contain. The Knicks are able to get to mid-range pull-ups or post mismatches, shots that, while less efficient on paper, are lower variance in nature. That matters late in games when three-point reliant teams risk cold spells at inopportune times. On Indiana's side, Pascal Siakam could be forced into isolation more than usual. Against the switching defense, the reads become more one-on-one. And while that's not always Indiana's preference, Siakam's efficiency in isolation at 1.05 points per possession makes him a legitimate threat. Miles Turner will also be critical. He stretches the floor and protects the rim, but his ability to score decisively in the post has really grown. If Indiana gets bogged down, Turner may become a needed release valve. And then there's Josh Hart. Hart's offensive limitations are well known. He's a reluctant shooter, and teams consistently use their centers to guard him with ghost coverage. That's when they sag off to protect the rim while daring him to shoot. But he's also a connector, one of the league's best rebounders at his position, and a really valuable screener. The Knicks have countered ghost coverage by using Hart as a screener or in handoff actions, but that requires taking the ball out of their primary creator's hands. It's a trade-off, and one that Carlisle is likely to test again. This is where the coaching chess match begins, and where it might end. This isn't just a rivalry series, it's a pivot point for both franchises. For Indiana, this is the moment they've been building towards. The Siakam trade signaled a shift. The front office believes that this group can compete, but with Turner approaching free agency and limited flexibility to improve, this may be their best chance at a finals run. And if they fall short, especially with Boston and Cleveland hobbled, if they can't break through now, when will they? For New York, the questions are more existential. They have an MVP level star in Jalen Brunson. They have a core built around spacing, switchability, and toughness. They've built things the right way, but if this group falls short again, fully healthy and fully loaded with the top of the East crumbling all around them, what changes? Does Karl-Anthony Towns get blamed for disappearing in big moments? Does Mikal Bridges take the fall for not being aggressive enough? Or does the front office finally confront what a growing number of fans already believe? That Tom Thibodeau, for all his success, might be the one holding this team back. That the defensive foundation, the culture, the buy-in may have taken them as far as he can. And if this version of the Knicks can't get past Indiana, then maybe it's not the roster that needs to change. The questions will be loud for whichever team loses, because in today's NBA, being good isn't enough. You have to be great, adaptable, and healthy all at once. And right now, both of these teams are closer than they've been in years. But only one of them is going to take that next step. And the other, they'll be left wondering what might have been. It's Knicks-Pacers again.